All right, good evening, everyone. Today is August 20th, 6:30 p.m. By my clock. Commissioner Farnsworth is about to walk in any second now here, and you caught us. We were just talking about giving everybody an AR-15 instead of the ASO contract, but that was a tongue-in-cheek conversation. Welcome to the meeting. Commissioner Farnsworth? Oh, okay, great. Well, Dallas, if you want to go ahead and get us started. Well, first, I need an approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All right, motion is moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing no public. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. All right, so that brings us to the agenda items. Number one, governmental funds. Mr. Assistant City Manager, you have the floor.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, if I could just quickly, I really like this first slide, and I just wanted to take a second to let this first slide sink in a little bit. This slide resonates with me more as a teacher, perhaps, than it does anywhere else, but you know, when I was a teacher back in the day, I listened to a lot of people tell me that they cared an awful lot about education and talked about how it was the state of education. But when it came to the budget time, that empathy, sympathy did not translate into the budget. So I think the truth of this slide is paramount. The things that we care about, those are the things that will make it into the budget. Those are the things that we will fund. Those are the things that we support. I cannot express my pride in this board. 10 years ago, you committed to the fire department. You said you wanted it to be the best fire department, and you have never failed from that moment to this moment to put your money where your mouth is. And we could go department by department, law enforcement, electric, water, sewer. That's why you're building an advanced treatment wastewater plant. This board has the foresight to look ahead. You have the courage to stand with your convictions. And I think that this slide pertains to you. And if you've watched any of the board members around the rest of the county, the issues that they are having, they stem from years of not giving their departments the support they need to build the departments that they need to serve the residents. And that's our whole reason to be here. So I just wanted to take a minute. We've had a lot of community chatter about this, but the things that we care about, those are the things that are in this budget. And that's what we're going to talk about, a few of those things tonight. And that's, I'll be off my soapbox, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate you.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, Mr. Dallas, if you want to take it away.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners. We're here tonight to discuss your governmental funds budget. As the Commission is aware, 3 weeks ago, we had a budget workshop that was focused on your proprietary funds. That's primarily your utilities, your utility-like departments. Tonight is your governmental funds, the parts of the city that operate like a government, primarily funded through taxes, and where the majority of what you think of when you think of the city services reside. So again, tonight we'll be talking about your general funds, special revenue funds, capital project funds. And as I go through the slide presentation, please interrupt me with any questions as I go. You should have two documents in front of you. You should have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation and then a draft of our capital improvement plan for the general fund and governmental funds. I'm not going to go line by line through the CIP, but if you have any questions, this does lay out all the projects that we have planned for next fiscal year funded through the government side. The highlights of the manager's proposal of the budget for you tonight are that we are coming forward with a balanced budget at a millage rate reduction at 5.88 mills. We are balanced at a fire assessment rate increase of $300, not the $419 that was noticed. As a reminder to the Commission and the public, that was just the maximum amount to give wiggle room for future increases if needed to fund the fire department.
Dallas, what was the 5.8 versus what
I believe the average amount was about $5.
What was the millage rate?
5.88. Oh, it's currently 5.9.
5.9.
As always, we'll talk about personnel expenses, staffing levels, and our capital improvement program. So comes as no surprise to the board that the population of Newberry continues to grow. As of April of 2024, we were just over 9,100 in population. Again, that was as of last year, so we would assume this year we're much closer to 10,000. And when we are talking again next year, we might be at or over 10,000 people here in the city of Newberry. Moving into your general fund. Your property taxes, your ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2026 are budgeted at $4.9 million. That is up from your current year's budget of $4.6 million, again, primarily driven by growth. You have about an $80 million increase in property values this year, as well as the increase in the valuations of the city. In your other revenues, you're at just shy of $9 million, whereas in the current fiscal year, you're just a little bit under $8 million. One thing to note is we have received a number of grants, so there are grant dollars included in that revenue number. When we get to the expense side, I'll point out where some of those grants are as well that increase the expense side. So your general fund expense budget is at 13.9 million, up from this year's 13.2, and we'll go through some of those increases in more detail. But in general, your revenues increase due to your property taxes. Your solid waste contract automatically increases on October 1st, so we have an increase on the revenues to pay for that as well as the expenses. We're seeing more building permit activity, the fire assessment increase, and grant activity. In your expenditure increases, primarily driven by an increase into the CRA. As the commission is aware, the increase in taxable value of your CRA has to be dedicated back to your CRA. So since the values of your CRA increased this year, we have to transfer that money into the CRA. Again, your solid waste rates increase per your contract. Your collective bargaining agreement with the fire union mandates a wage increase, so we have a fire wage increase. We are proposing non-union employee wage increases. We have some long-term employees who are scheduled to retire in this fiscal year. There are some new positions, and then, as I mentioned, we have some grant expenditures. And the budget presented to you tonight does include the $30,000 contingency if we need it. As a history of your millage, my numbers and my years have fallen off my graph here, but the point of this graph is to show that for almost the last decade, the commission has held the millage rate steady or reduced it a little bit. It hit a high of 5.9999 about 6 years ago, and ever since then, the commission has been steadily reducing that millage rate as it can. The one increase you see there, a large one, was when we shifted from the law enforcement MSTU to the law enforcement contract. As a reminder for the commission, your decision to do that next year will save your residents $2 million on the law enforcement MSTU alone. Taxable property values continue to increase. As I mentioned, you're over 800 million this year, actually just shy of 900 million. Last year, you were just over 800, but our property values continue to increase. One thing to note is, and Commissioner Coleman, I'm sure, can speak to this better than I can, but when a building, especially a commercial building, maybe a large grocery store, COs and closes on their property, they don't actually pay property taxes for another year because you have to have your final approvals before January 1st of that year. So Publix is not included in our property tax values this year. It'll be on our tax rolls for the next fiscal year, but we're not seeing those valuations in our taxable values yet this year. In your millage, your gross taxable value this year, like I said, is just under $900 million. It's up from last year's $820 million. That's about an 8% increase. The Save Our Homes cap this year is 3%. That means the most the value of your house can increase for taxable reasons is 3%. So even though your house may have appreciated $100,000, the cap is going to keep it down to just that 3%. So the whole goal of that constitutional amendment was to keep people from being taxed out of their homes by setting a cap as to how much your taxable value can increase each year. Your rolled back rate this year is just shy of 5.7, again, adjusted down from your current millage rate of 5.9. Your adjusted rollback is 6.142. And then again, staff has balanced your budget at a lowered millage rate of 5.88 mils. As a reminder for the commission, you did adopt your maximum cap at 6.0623 mils. So if the commission did want to generate additional revenue, you could raise your millage up to that point. Going to that millage would generate an additional $153,000 in general fund. To speak a little bit more about Save Our Homes, as the commission is aware, Save Our Homes was passed as a constitutional amendment in 1995. It limits how much your property value, your homesteaded property values can increase every year, either to 3% or the CPI, whichever is lower. This year, the CPI is higher than 3%, so Save Our Homes is capped at 3%. If you have an increase in your value, such as an addition or some sort of enhancement to your property, that is outside of your Save Our Homes cap. And then just as a point of reference, Newberry currently has over $45 million in deferred taxable value. So that's taxable value for homes that are not being taxed due to Save Our Homes. So that's about $260,000 in unrealized tax revenues annually to help lower your residents' taxes. I have an example of what happens here. If you have a taxable home valued at $150,000 in year one, less your homestead exemption, you have a $100,000 taxable value. We'll assume in year two, your value went up $10,000. However, Save Our Homes would limit that to just a $4,500 increase. Year three, again, it would limit that increase from $20,000 in increased value just to $9,000. So you're not paying the taxes on that entire new value, essentially, so if the market fluctuates, values go up, people aren't getting hurt. Another important thing to note, we have less of them now, but when your valuation dips, it does it goes back down. So a lot of people who've been in their homes since the recession, 2008, 2009, 10, if your valuation dropped pretty significantly and you're still in your home, your valuation is actually still going to be based off of the low point that you had when the recession happened. The tax dollar distribution, I like to show this every year as a reminder for our residents. When you get your trim bill, when you get your tax notice in November, it may have a scary number on there, but the majority of that does not go to the city of Newberry. For every dollar that a resident or business pays in property taxes, the city only receives about 27 cents of that dollar. The rest of it, the majority of it goes to the county and to the school board, as well as some of the smaller agencies in our area. So a resident who gets a $6,000 tax bill, isn't paying $6,000 to the city of Newberry. They're only paying about a quarter of that to the city of Newberry for their Newberry services, and the rest are going to other governmental entities. Millage rate comparison, we always like to look at where we're benchmarking against our neighbors and our peers in the area. Happy to tell you that Newberry has the second lowest millage out of all the cities in the area. Only one lower than us is Micanopy. We're lower than Alachua, Gainesville, La Crosse, High Springs, Archer, Waldo, and Hawthorne. These are fiscal year 2025 millages. Every other city is also going through the same budget process. City of Gainesville did vote for a millage rate increase earlier this week, so their millage will be going up. And my understanding is some of the other cities are voting for millage rate increases as well. Yes, sir. No, sir. Mr. Well, a couple things. One, the charter school system is an independent government agency from the city, so none of the money is coming to the city for the charter schools. Second, technically, all the money goes to the school board, and then the school board redistributes it back to the charter school. You just get the money that is guaranteed by the formula from the state. Yeah, but the school board is still setting its tax rate. Another important thing to note on the school board's taxes is I want to say like 60% of their taxes are actually mandated by the state. They only get to control a small portion of their required local effort, and a large portion of that is also mandated by the state. So the school board actually has very little control of what they set their property tax rates at.
Dallas, if we didn't have the fire assessment fee, what would our millage rate be?
you would need to raise it approximately a little more than 1.5 mils.
So it'll be up to
So it would be,
6.5?
no, it'd be 7.4.
5.9 to 7.4.
We
Sorry,
adopted the
Commissioner.
cap much lower than that anyway.
5.88.
Sorry,
5.88.
7.48.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're paying in taxes, 7.48.
Yes and no. I mean, it's hard to equate the two because your fire assessment is a flat dollar amount where your property tax rate is based off your valuation.
I'd also say on the next slide, Dallas, if you wanted to do that calculation, you'd have to go back to this and you'd have to add the fire assessment to every city also, right?
Right.
So I've always been, I'm not criticizing the graph. It's a good graph. We need to kind of know. But not all cities are alike, right? So Newberry has a water department, we have a streets and roads department, we have a planning department, we have a building department, we have a fire department. We are a full-fledged, full-service community. Not every city has all of those departments. So,
Well, Lotchaway, Gainesville, LaCrosse, or High Springs, they all do, don't they?
Lacrosse don't.
Micanopy,
Alachua, Gainesville, La Crosse, High Springs, Archer, Waldo, and Hawthorne all have fire assessments as well.
Alachua doesn't have a fire department, right? I'm not sure the departments that Archer has, or Micanopy has, or LaCrosse has, or Waldo has, or Hawthorne has. But one of the struggles when you talk to county commissioners is this concept that all cities do have all of these things, or don't. And all 9 municipalities in the county are very, very different. So, and I also just want to point out that law enforcement MSTU, it's over 3.5. So, we could talk to the sheriff and say that we're not interested in the contract anymore. We go back to the MSTU. That would take 1.5 mils roughly off of ours, but our residents would end up paying over 3.5 more. So when Dallas says that this contract has saved, Commissioner, has saved over $2 million, that's what he's talking about, right? When we get back to utilities at some point in time, there's all kinds of strategies for people to say, well, I'm going to raise the base rate a little bit, but I'm going to institute a new charge, or I'm going to do, so it's really, really hard to compare cities to each other, right? And I know some of you like to try to compare, some of you dislike trying to compare. I think you have to at least know where you are within your peers, right? So that you can make some judgment. But to me, this does have a lot of validity in a lot of ways, but I have no idea what Micanopy's government offers its residents for the 5.2. I just don't know each of the 9 municipalities well enough to answer that. I know that our residents get every service for the 5.9.
Well, I mean, you say it's 5.9, but in reality, it would be 7.48. Now, High Springs, do they have a fire assessment fee?
I believe every other city has a fire assessment.
So it's not, you just didn't include that in the,
Well, again, because they're all different and I can't calculate it into a millage very easily. No, sir, I did not.
okay. Does,
I believe Micanopy,
No way that $300 is gonna run it all the way up to 7 point, what'd you say, 8?
7.48.
yeah, that
No
would,
way.
it would generate the same amount of revenue.
The commissioner's question was, if you didn't have a fire assessment, what would the millage area have to be? And I think the problem is, all of these cities have different assessments. Some have fire assessments, some of them have different assessments. Trying to equate an assessment into millage is difficult. I would simply remind you guys that our state right now seems to be going the opposite way. They seem to want to do away with millage and go more towards other things, sales taxes, fees, assessments. So the statewide conversation is doing away with millage, at least on the residential side. I haven't heard about the commercial side. So I think the comparison you're looking for is difficult to calculate because they're just two different things.
Mr. Mayor, I believe unincorporated Alachua County has a fire assessment. Micanopy, the city of Alachua, the city of La Crosse, the city of Archer, the city of Waldo, and Hawthorne are all in the county's fire assessment. The city of Gainesville has its own fire assessment, and the city of High Springs has its own fire assessment. I believe the city of High Springs is contemplating at least a $250 fire assessment. They're actually in a budget workshop tomorrow where they may be discussing a $320 fire assessment, I believe was their max. Every other city does have some sort of an assessment to fund their fire services.
Okay. And, okay. So, okay, let me look at these numbers here. Okay, we can continue on and I'll ask it in a minute.
Ready? As a reminder, same slide that we put up every year, but you do have a couple of revenue diversification options if you wanted to increase revenue or diversify revenue. One is you could increase your utility tax on water. Almost universally, cities tax water at 10%. City of Newberry taxes it at 6%. If you increased your taxes there, you could generate about $30,000, $40,000 more in annual revenue. And then there are a number of special assessments that the commission could consider. There's actually two of them that are in process right now. You've got the stormwater assessment that we're working on, as well as a street improvement and street enhancement assessment that is proposed to be funded in this budget. Commission gave us direction earlier in this fiscal year to put that into the budget, so that is funded in your proposed budget for next year. All right, moving into expenditures. As an overview of your general fund, as I mentioned, your 2026 budget is just shy of $14 million, up from $13.2 million. $500,000 of that increase is the fire training facility that the state provided a grant for. The rest of it is cost of living increases, CPI increases of different items, those sorts of things. There's no major changes, some capital outlay increases here and there. A couple departments have decreased in their revenue, and then one that, just to point out of your $14 million, the majority, or the plurality of your funding goes to your public safety expenses. So out of your $14 million, just a little bit over $5 million of that goes to public safety. So that's your police, your fire, your building department, your codes enforcement departments. And then just so everybody understands, the transfers out decreased this year because last year the commission funded a lot of capital projects that were transferred to other funds to fund and used your fund balance to pay for that. So this year that number has dropped. In personnel, the Florida retirement system increases this year were minimal. It was about $50,000 across all funds, so nothing crazy. We were able to negotiate a very good health insurance renewal of 3%. Originally came back at over 11%, and we were able to negotiate that down to 3%. Thank you. We have the step-in in your fire union contract, so all of the fire employees automatically move to the next step for a pay raise, and then they'll also be eligible for any cost of living increases the commission authorizes. In the proposed budget, we have a merit of up to 4% based off of your merit evaluation, and a cost of living increase of 2% for all employees. Every year, as the commission knows, we do peer comparisons and compare ourselves to the market and to who we're competing with to retain employees. So there are a couple of wage scale adjustments, but nothing major. And then we're still in the minimum wage increase step-in plan. So this year, the minimum wage will increase from $13 an hour to $14 an hour. The only employees we have that make minimum wage are our part-time recreation employees, but all of those employees will be increased to at least minimum wage as well. Every year we look at our long-term staffing plan to strategically plan out where we're going to be with staffing based off of service needs and population increases. So we do have a couple of new positions proposed in this budget, which I'll get to in just a minute. And there are no other changes, other major changes in the benefits packages that the city is offering. Just so you know, the commission remembers a number of years ago, it was important to the commission that we increase the amount that we fund for our dependent care. So we are continuing that dependent care. Just as an example for the commission, an employee who has family health insurance, the city is paying $22,000 a year for that family coverage. The employee is paying $9,000 a year for that coverage. So it's certainly still tough, but the city is contributing a lot more to help offset those dependent coverages.
Mr. Chair, can you go back one, Dallas? I just want to make a statement about the population increase. I've been doing a deep dive trying to figure out, how Newberry is doing in terms of population versus employee, those kind of things. If you'll note, our loose policy is to try to maintain 1 employee per 100 residents. I can't find another city that offers our level of service that is running that lean. Okay, so I've sent you numbers on cities around us. Again, at a little over 9,000, at 90 employees. Most of every other city is running 1.2, 1.3 or higher. Okay, so when people say, well, we've got too many, you should look at some of the other cities that I'm looking at, right? Newberry is running really, really lean. We are, I'm not saying we we always take a little help, right? But I think we're right where we need to be, and our efforts to maintain that ratio, I think, are important because, as you guys know, as we started the last budget workshop, the end of this year, 26, is going to see a lot of activity in Newberry. We've got the two-way pairs, we've got the wastewater treatment plant, we've got the second feed coming into town, and we still have to do every single daily operational activity as if all of those things aren't happening, right? So I think it's really important that we project our brains into 26, 27, 28, because most of those are going to be more than 1 year construction projects that are going to take a long time. So I just want to highlight that more for the public than for you guys, because I had these conversations with you. But that idea of 1 employee per 100, Newberry lives by it. And Newberry's running leaner than just about any other city that I can find. It's always hard. Not every city offers all the same services, but Newberry's running pretty lean. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's right at 90. When you add the part-timers up to make full-time,
If FTEs were just shy of 80. Total employees, we have over 100, but FTEs is just shy of 80. As a point of reference, City of Alachua has 172 FTEs. So new
for
positions.
3,000 people more. So, I mean, I'm glad you said that, Commissioner, because I do think there is a ratio for how much the commission wants to fund employees to do different things and how well the city does. Just bring that back to you at some point in time.
So the new positions that were requested and were approved. I've been awake since like 3 in the morning. This is tomorrow morning budget. There's a facilities inmate supervisor position that was approved. Assistant director of community development in our planning area. There's a human resources technician that's funded for a third of a year to start in April-ish. A plans examiner, that one's a key position. Primarily split with utilities, but that position is funded to help take workload off of Jamie so he can focus on the wastewater treatment plant, some of the bigger utility projects that we have coming. And then there's another staff assistant position proposed in the utilities and public works area, again, to help with the workload that is coming in terms of all these projects.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do this all night, I promise. But I do want
From the pit of hell.
It was a fib. It was a white lie. It was a little, I need the public to hear this because Newberry is blessed. I think Newberry has been blessed many times, but Assistant City Manager Jamie Jones is one of the few people in the state that has the ability to be a project manager for this wastewater facility. I have seen preliminary documents that it would cost us about $1 million extra if we had to pay the company that whatever company wins the bid. If we have someone of Mr. Jones' caliber, doesn't necessarily mean Mr. Jones, but if we have somebody of his caliber here to take some of that workload, there's one price. If we do not have that, there's a whole other price. So right on top of saving $2 million for our residents for being in a contract with law enforcement, we're also saving $1 million by having Mr. Jones on staff. And I think that's important to note, say thank you to him, and for our residents to hear that we have that ability right now. Very specifically, we're blessed for it. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Jamie, this is where you should ask for a raise.
How you
And he didn't ask for a raise at all.
You might want to put your mic on for that one.
Dallas.
Yes, sir.
One other thing, on the 2 fire staffing positions, I thought we had to do that by mandate from the state with the
No,
Did that pass yet?
the law that passed the state, well, A, those are two separate things. These staffing positions are, so your fire department operates with 4 firefighters on shift. The staffing positions, we currently have 1. That exists, so if someone calls out, someone is sick, someone goes on vacation, we don't have to call in overtime. So the chief requested 2 additional staffing positions for each of the shifts. So each shift would have a staffing position, so we could backfill. I believe what the commissioner is referring to is there was a law passed this year that recommended and encouraged fire departments to go to 24 hours on, 72 hours off, instead of our current 24 on, 48 off. That would require us to hire an entire 4th shift of firefighters.
A lot of mandates for somebody above us telling us what to do with our money.
The state loves to mandate what we should do.
Unfunded mandates.
Unfunded mandates,
And I will
Funded
say,
Mandated. It's just
which is
crazy.
unconstitutional, but somehow they keep doing it.
Anyway,
Those-
let me-
go ahead. No, go.
I want to add, I thought we already have someone running our inmate.
This is an addition, we have an inmate supervisor position in Public Works. This is one in facilities to help maintain fields
So we're
and
going to get 2
buildings.
sets of prisoners.
Yeah, we used to have 2, and then COVID kind of got rid of our.
Put that- yeah.
Yep, so we're proposing to bring the second inmate squad back.
And
So
this-
the plus side of that is we already have all the equipment and the
Well, I'm ready.
trucks and
I'm good.
everything.
I
so-
just- I knew we had one for sure, but.
This is also forethought, in case, we still have some conversations about Champions Park contract, but if the city is gonna take that back into our Parks Rec offering,
Don't need it.
this would be a wonderful way to keep that park
Yeah.
in first-class condition with the cost of 1 employee instead of, I will also say that those 2 firing positions, I actually agree with the chief. I think this is a good plan. I think it's good for succession planning. I think has potential for overtime savings and all that kind of stuff. But it is expensive, and I think we're a little bit behind on the fire assessment. We're trying to help our community slowly get to where it needs to be. So, we had to have some hard conversations about it for this year, but I think you'll see this one coming back for commission consideration in next year's budget.
Just as a point of reference, each of those entry-level firefighter positions cost about $80,000 to $85,000 a year fully loaded.
Now, that's just,
That's everything.
that's everything. What's your actual expenditure on?
These would be full-time. Yep.
So if they come in with, our step increase, if I believe in our last thing we did with the fire department, they come in with the paramedic badge and the experience, they roll right into that higher level.
If they're a paramedic, they get a $10,000 a year stipend, and then
With their experience, they can.
based off of
Everybody to the bottom.
based off of their position and their experience. Yep. Chief, he's got 1 opening. You get the high-risk FRS too. It's pretty sweet.
Okay, thank you very much on that.
I'm still back on the Counting Crows, Mr. Jones song.
Might be before my time. I'm sorry. In your operating budget,
For Commissioner Longshot, too.
Throw your curveball in.
referencing classical music there, Mr. Mayor.
I think it's Yacht Rock.
Hey, now, man, we'll do a tutorial tomorrow, don't worry.
Operating budgets, there aren't any major changes in your operating budget. Again, we're facing tariffs, we're facing price increases across the board. From 2014 to 2024, the municipal price increase went up 35%. The construction cost increase went up 43%. Just from 23 to 24, it was almost 3%. So nothing new that the commission hasn't heard, but everything costs more for us to do the same things.
Something this will be for, we are doing bigger and better, and I know we're moving forward with some roads, and we're getting, chip sealing done, and we're getting some, pavement, but our exterior roads, as in 202, Monday, 15th will get fixed, I hope, in the county's budget, but we need a street sweeper or some sort of tractor with the sweeper on it in y'all's budget. Do y'all have that, or do we even have that equipment? Because we have a lot of stuff down, and these guys are constantly picking up the sand.
We actually, Mr. Mayor, if you bear with me, we actually bought a backhoe a few years ago that was a tool carrier that was set up with the hydraulic couplings and whatnot on the front where you could put a street broom on it. Unfortunately, we have not been able to budget for that, but we wanted the machine set up in case we could purchase it, or if we have a specific project, we can go to the rental and get one that we can run off our existing machine.
What would it take, Jamie? I hear you, but I'm telling you, today's the day we've got to do it, because if we don't, we spend a bunch of money. Are the professionals, I talked to the road crews, we need that.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have the price of that off the top of my head, but we'll get it and get that information back to the commission.
I'm sitting here, we are the people who run this budget. Some way, somehow.
Well, like I said, we'll get the pricing on that. We put it in a draft budget a few years ago and weren't able.
Any way possible to get it for y'all.
Well, thank you.
We'll have it for you before the first hearing.
We do have a budget workshop a week from today, so
Yes, sir.
hopefully we can get that for you. Capital improvement program, as I mentioned earlier, you have the plan in front of you. I'll just go through some of the major items we've got going on. In your infrastructure sales surtax fund, there's no new projects funded for next year. Continuing a bunch of the projects that have been started this year, such as the environmental park, the power plant. Veterans Memorial Park is finished. Continuing to work on Southwest 15th and Cemetery Drive aisles. The commission did authorize that fund to go negative in the fiscal year, so you have a negative fund balance of $564,000. So that's why there's no projects budgeted next year, so the fund can rebuild itself before we take on a new project in that fund. But it did pay for this lovely chip seal. The Wild Spaces Public Places Fund on your rec side. We've got the design for the skate park. We have a project at Easton that we'll be discussing a little bit more in our rec workshop coming up. But that is tennis and pickleball courts, the RC park. One day we're going to build those multi-purpose fields for Commissioner Coleman. Moving of the maintenance shed. You've got one more year of payment on the IFAS loan. That's the loan that the general fund made to the Wild Spaces Fund to pay for the land donation that we made for the IFAS in Canterbury project. And then, as the commission knows, you allocated $2 million to Champions Park. We spent $800,000 of that in this year's budget, so the remainder of that is in next year's budget. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Or, as a reminder, like I said, we do have the wrap-up budget meeting is next Wednesday. On Monday night, the commission will be setting its final fire assessment rates for 2026. Again, staff recommends a $300 fee, but open to any feedback and suggestions, and happy to answer any questions about your budget.
Dallas, I have been fielding a lot of questions on the fire assessment fee. I know the letter went out, and I have to admit I didn't read it completely, but there were a lot of folks that just thought that was just a bill for $419. So part one of my question is, what actually did it speak to that just being the cap, and that was
Yes.
kind of just like the millage,
It says
right?
across the top, this is not a bill, do not pay.
Fair enough, okay. So part B, just one sec. We hear from the manager that we're a little bit behind on the fire assessment. Obviously, the legally defensible amount's the 419. But remind us and remind the city, because I've been talking about how the personality of our commission has been incremental increases every year to keep from having large jumps. And remind us what the history of the fire assessment has been the last couple of years, because I don't believe we have been increasing it the last couple of years. And then this almost kind of speaks to exactly what we've been trying to avoid, is going up and having 100%. It looks like a lot. It's about $8 a month, but you see 200, then you see 300, that just equates automatically to a 50% increase, which sounds like a large number. What, do you have the history numbers of the assessment?
Can you go back
Yes, sir,
5
Mr.
years?
Mayor, I
Dallas?
do. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you go back about 5 years?
Mr. Mayor, in 2020, our fire assessment was $175. In 2021, the commission raised it to $190. In 2022, it was raised to $195. In 2023, it was raised to $200. And in 2024 and 2025, it was not increased. Since 2020, it's increased $25.
Mr. Mayor, I think I agree completely with your point. If you go back to 2020 and it was 175, if we had done the incremental 25, it would have been 221, 225 and 22, 250 and 23, 275 and 24. It'd be 300 right now. So while I absolutely,
Go into 325.
and we'd be looking at 325 because the chief does need those two positions. I will remind this board that the law the governor passed, which is a strong suggestion right now, we do not know when
We know how this goes.
the governor could make that a mandate, another unfunded mandate halfway through this budget year. I think there's also recruiting issues. The city of Gainesville has already gone to 1 day on, 3 days off. They could not keep firemen. Now they made that shift. They haven't lost anybody, and they've got a waiting list for people to join them. So whether it becomes a mandate or not, as other communities move towards that, I think it's going to become something we have to do if we want to be competitive and attract people. I think we've been talking a lot about the fire station. When is the time for a substation? Our best crystal ball guess is somewhere between 5 and 10 years from now based on our population growth. We have no funding source right now for any of those needs. I'm not saying that we need to tackle that issue today. I am saying it's something that we need to keep in the back of our minds about how we're going to do that. So just want to say I agree with you, Mayor, that this is a good lesson in why you should go up just a little bit every year to keep up with all of these raising prices. Because when we skip a couple years, we get into this situation. And then it looks like a big jump, and it is a big jump, but it's right where we would have been if we had done that steady 25 each year.
Well, and obviously nobody's ever crazy about increases. And I had done the math, and I just wanted to ask you, Dallas, if I was doing it right. When we were looking at the potential utility increases across the board, they were about $15, I think, and change. With the $100 increase broken down by month, that's another $8. So I believe my calculation, I'd have to look back, was around $24 a month,
Seems correct.
right? Okay. And we still have various utility assistance plans and stuff like that for folks if they needed to take care.
We also have a fire assessment hardship program that low-income residents can apply to have their fire assessment abated.
Okay.
I mean,
Would
Moving
that-
$5 off of our millage rate, so that 24 went back to 19.
Well, it's
a
$5 a year.
year.
Oh, a year,
Yeah.
not a month? Oh, Lord, we ain't right with a few cents there.
So no, it's about
We need
All I said was it was a millage
That's
rate
about
decrease.
flat.
I didn't say it was a big one.
it's about is it-
How many people utilize the program for the fire assessment? One person?
How many people have access to it?
You have to kind of jump through hoops to get it. You have to go through all the other,
No, that's the for the fire assessment, there's a one-page application you have to submit.
yeah, but then don't you have to first go to the county and
That
ask
was-
them for,
No,
that's how we used to do it.
that was
So
the
has it
utility
changed?
assistance.
No, it wasn't either. It was fire assessment.
The fire assessment is a one-page application.
Because I was on the group that was reviewing the applications, so.
The current
before-
process is you just have to submit an application before May 1st.
Maybe it's changed. And how about the savings from the overtime? Will that not pay for the additional employees in the fire department?
It will help offset it. It will not pay for it.
So why not just keep the overtime then if it's going to be cheaper?
I'll have to defer to the fire chief.
I think that's what we're proposing. That's why we slashed those two requests is we're just going to keep moving on with the overtime. We're not going to bring the people in. There is an offset there. I think the two positions, the reason I think the chief is right is it speaks to succession planning. Most of our fire department is somewhere between 5 and 10 years away from retirement. And when I say most, I mean most. It's like 80%. So bringing in some people to get them in, I think it also, if we were able to do that this year, which we're not proposing and we're not suggesting, but if the governor changed it to a mandate, well, you'd have 3 floaters who could potentially just become 3/4 of that next squadron that you would need to fill out the other 4. So I think there's an awful lot of benefits, but I think given the budgetary constraints of this year and what we got to do to catch up this year, I think staff is comfortable asking for the 300 because we recognize that is a big jump for residents, right? It's a self-inflicted wound. We did it to ourselves by trying to be nice, by trying to do the best we could. But now we're faced with what we're faced with. And I don't know that if you guys saw it, what I'm trying to do is not have to make the social media video that the High Springs city manager had to make, where he had a fire truck behind him and a police car behind him. And he asked the residents to come help him pick which one had to go, right? Because they have not kept up with their fire assessments. And so now I feel my heart goes out to them. I know exactly what they're going through. And I don't want Newberry to have to go through it. Newberry loves the fire department. You can see it every day. But it is important to fund it so that we can keep being proud of it.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add on to the manager's points, another point for the staffing person is when we eventually build that second station, you already have the staff there as well that can move into that station. So sort of like we're doing the wastewater plant, where we're building the staff so we don't have to add a whole bunch of staff all at once. If you added those staffing positions, when you open your second station, it's not like you have to hire a whole nother 12 firefighters to.
Dallas, with the increase in homes being built and businesses coming in, does that not give enough money to cover the increase in the fire assessment? I mean, you have all these houses being built and taxes coming in from that and fire assessments coming in from that already. The cost of the increase in the fire department does not seem to be enough to even come close to the amount of money that's coming in from the residents and the developers.
On the fire assessment, because it's only $200, so you're only gaining $10,000 or $15,000 a year in those new residents coming in.
How many houses we had built last year?
Couple, 200 something.
I think it was 189 last year.
So you only get a portion of it the first year, and you
189.
get a portion of it the second year.
189.
I mean, I can do the math for you, but the increases in the salaries alone this year, just because of the union contract, were in excess of $100,000.
Your point, Commissioner, I think
At
that
150 houses, that fire system is $30,000 in new revenue.
the reason why, as I listen to what's going on in Archer, High Springs, Gainesville, Hawthorne, the reason why Newberry's increases, while painful, are 4.5% instead of Central Florida Electric's 9.2%, right, is because of the population growth, the new houses. So High Springs has been relatively stagnant at 7,000 population. So 7,000 people have to absorb all the cost increases that we're all absorbing. Whereas our growth rate, we have 2,000 more people who are helping share those cost increases that amortizes it across 2,000 more households, 2,000 more residents. So while we have to go up, we don't have to go up 9.2, we have to go up 4.5. I think of the city of Archer. The city of Archer's population is decreasing. They used to have 1,000, now they're down to 900. Archer also has all the same cost increases, their transformers cost, their light poles cost, their construction, pothole filling, all that still costs. And they have 100 people less to pay for those expenses than they used to have. So I think the point you're making is a good point. It doesn't pay for it completely. It just means that we can absorb those cost increases in a way that some of our neighbors are not.
Were you done, Commissioner Farnsworth?
Temporarily.
Sounds good. Dallas, looking if you can, looking out over the horizon, we have a fair amount of potentially commercial projects coming in. Commercial projects, they pay much more in taxes than they require in services, where residents, you kind of lose money, to Commissioner Farnsworth's point. What sort of kind of position you think we're going to be in for some of these things that we're in this kind of what I think is a little bit of a transition area over the next, even 3 to 5 years?
If all the commercial that is saying that is going to come comes,
Right.
you'll have a much more robust and diversified tax base, and you'll have higher property values, higher property taxes coming in, which would allow the commission to either enhance services, decrease your millage. There is somewhere in the middle where the increase, as you mentioned, the increase demand for services still needs to be paid for.
Right.
One thing to consider, though, is commercial does pay proportionately less in fire
Right.
assessment, based off their demands. So while they'll be paying for more in property taxes, they won't pay they pay a proportionate share, but they demand less service on the fire side.
Sure.
So they pay less on the fire side.
Okay, all right. Because I know I was in a meeting yesterday, and I was just kind of in my thinking about being in Newberry the last 10 years has been exciting. We've gotten a lot of great, wonderful things done. I feel like we have sort of tweaked where we needed to tweak, and we sort of have a machine that works very, very well right now. A lot of the seeds that we planted over the last 10 years are kind of coming to fruition. And I don't know, yesterday I just found myself getting very excited about where we could be in the next 3 to 5 years with some of this. And I keep going back to growing pains are better than shrinking pains. And whereas I would love to, keep my daughter at 5 years old and have her small and tiny and all that, but doesn't mean I can't have new memories with her, sending her away to college at 18, and still have great things happen as our town grows and gets older and matures and those sorts of things. So I appreciate your feedback on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Dallas, can you give us just a rough estimate of when Publix comes onto the tax rolls, what that will be?
Does anybody know how much Publix is worth?
I think that's
If it's 50 million,
I think it was closer to 55, 60, but let's go with 50. And
let me see if it's on the property appraiser's website first.
just to while he's just kind of playing with that number, I thought we had estimated that Publix alone would be somewhere around $90,000. All the vertical,
That number sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Let me double check, see.
all the vertical that we're about to see across the street, we'll see the vertical before it comes onto the tax rolls too. So I think the mayor's 3 to 5 year estimate is a good estimate. We got a lot of commercial that is, and this year's a frustrating year because we had Publix coming and then Publix building, now Publix is built, still not quite on the tax rolls. And the same thing is going to be true next year when Wawa is there and everything else is there. That will probably be, some of them at least, will have to wait one more year before those come onto the tax rolls. But we are every day getting requests, right, from, not necessarily applications, but phone calls. Hey, we're this, we want to come, we're thinking about it, right? So I believe that the commercial, which is already robust in the city of Newberry, as you guys have heard in the last 2 State of the City speeches, for every 5 houses we build, we get another business. That's a really, really impressive ratio. There is no other city that I found that meets that ratio. Dallas is at 90,000. We're just estimating here tonight. So if that sounds right to you, you remember that too. Okay, that's the number I think. So that alone, that's a fireman, right? Just about right there.
So how much does Publix pay in fire assessment.
There, and
It's
the
old.
type.
Well, that concludes the agenda item itself. Unless you had more specific questions on that, we can move into comments if you'd like. But any more immediate questions? You want to move to comments, guys? Yeah? Comment? Okay. All right, well, let's do citizens first. Seeing none, we'll go to, actually, city manager.
My
Who's
only
next?
comment tonight, guys, is thank you for the work you're putting in. I think that the residents would appreciate, we're not taking any votes tonight, but if the 300 that staff is projecting on the fire system, I know that 419 number has caused an awful lot of angst. I know that the people who are dealing with a lot of requests and phone calls would like to say, hey, we were at a budget workshop. We saw 2, 3, 4 commissioners say, yeah, we'll support that. It's not going to be 419. We're more comfortable with 300. If you need more time to think about it, I'm not trying to pressure you. I just know that that is the hot topic. So I think if you would be willing to say to the town, 300 is where I'm going to end up being, and give us a head nod that that's the range you're in, not the 419, that we'll try to do our best to pass that along. But again, if you're still thinking about it, I'm not trying to pressure you.
City clerk? Who's going to do that?
Which one?
They both spoke up.
It's like
Stereo.
I mean, she learning on cue with them.
like diamond and silk.
Diamond died though.
All right, Commissioner Coleman, why don't you take the floor?
As y'all can see, I went and got my head buzzed and, up there at the barber shop. And, this really don't have anything to do with what we just, well, it kind of does. Improvements. I about knocked my teeth out trying to get in there to park at the barber shop again. We gotta do something there. You're talking less than 800 feet to get to the paved road. It's terrible. It goes way down, and then halfway down there, it's
He's put his own rock in there before.
yeah, he has.
I think.
It's terrible. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Is that city road?
I don't know.
No, it ain't, but it could be.
It's not a city road, it's private property. I think it's split between CSX property and private property. It might all be CSX property.
They're not, we know that they're not gonna do anything. I think us,
Right.
go ahead, Mark. No. I think we need to take care of that. Especially if they're, yeah, exactly. Hey, and you know, I mean, aren't they still chip and seal around here or whatever? But we need to do something there. It's
We
terrible.
take direction.
Thank you.
Had to get permission from
No, they're good. I
Yeah,
think the city manager, go ahead.
yeah. No, thank you, and that's all I got.
I would say
Good
that
job, Dallas.
that's already been looked at. I know there's been a little talk about it and some things done, so I think we'll wait on staff to go ahead and money drives the train, baby.
But the train ain't.
But the money drives the train. But anyway, I don't have anything. Good job. Thank y'all for the update. I would like to get with you, manager, and go over last week what I missed. And
Absolutely.
get a little update before the next one.
Before we think about doing another fire station, I think we should really work on getting our own police department. We need to start thinking about that and working towards that so we can actually get the police service that the citizens deserve to have. And,
Mr. Farnsworth, I have the answer to your question.
okay.
Publix will pay about $19,000 in fire assessment. I did go ahead and add Publix to the assessment roll early, not early, but because they are receiving the benefits. So that number is included in the budget number you already
That's a
saw.
good number. And when do we discuss the recreation department?
You have a recreation visioning workshop coming up on September 2nd.
And that's part of the budget hearing, or is that just something,
The Recreation Department is funded in the budget tonight.
oh, tonight? Okay, because it wasn't mentioned that I thought. And it's kind of hard to justify increasing fire assessment when we spend, we spend $2 million out there on Champions Park, which 99% of the citizens aren't even going to be using. So we say, hey, we're going to spend $2 million on Nations Park, but the good news is we're going to raise your fire assessment fee $100. So that just doesn't make sense to me, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner,
I
I
would
just-
remind the commission that
The 2 million comes out of Wild Spaces money. It doesn't come out of general fund. So the Wild Spaces money can't be spent on anything other than recreation. So
Right,
there-
what about the continuing operation of that park?
That will be a separate line item, and we'll have conversations about that. The commission still has to give direction if that's the direction that you guys want to go. If that's the direction given, then staff will be prepared to come back to you with what does that budget look like? What's the temperature for how long are we willing to try to see if we can actually make it break even? But those will all be conversations, and some of those will probably start at the recreation workshop on September 2nd.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, per the commission's direction, 15 years ago, when we opened Champions of the Nations, it is fully segregated into its own fund, separate from the general fund, and no revenue from the general fund goes into that fund for Champions Park.
Great job, Dallas. Staff took a lot of heat for this fire assessment, and we took a lot of heat from it. So I hope we citizens understand we're really trying our best to make sure we're not trying to break people's bank. We're trying to make sure our staff and our team give everybody the best services that the city can provide. And that's it. That is our main goal, and that's our main focus. So I hope they understand that. And if they have any questions, still come talk to us, and no problem with that. Other than that, I had a great time in the Florida League of Cities, learned a lot, met a lot of people, and definitely enjoyed that, and that's about it.
Okay. So was that a head nod for the 300 from you two, Monty? No? Okay. So three head nods there for that. I just kind of wanted to reiterate, it's exciting to have another $80 million worth of value for our residents in their investments in their homes, as well as the city's investments, which are technically theirs as well. We were talking about the $2 million in savings for the law enforcement contract, but that's just this year. We've had this for how many years now? 8, 9, 10? That's a lot. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that we've been able to save by taking the leadership on that. I appreciate the 100-to-1 ratio, and I think I had a conversation with the city manager that I think the number with Alachua was like 140 something. It was like they were like 40% higher than us with some similar services. They're a little bit bigger. Like everybody, I don't want to go to 300, but I think just being proactive about it and looking over the horizon, which is what we're supposed to be doing, I can publicly support that as well, even though I don't have a vote on that. Other than that, I appreciate the people along 15th Avenue's patience while that project's getting finished. I think is going to look great when it's done, but I know it is a sore spot while it's getting done. I've been over there a few times just trying to watch the progress on it, and school's in full swing at this point, so make sure your heads up at the crosswalks and all that good stuff. Otherwise, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.